right, so the next highest rated question comes from Chris Taylor, and he says, imagine that space aliens show up at Earth. Done. They have completely alien physiology, squids or robots or swarms or cybernetic insects or some such. Apparently it's not a guy in a reptile suit. But a recognizably classic liberal, as in pro-liberty and Christian or Jewish culture. This is an interesting question so far. Upon arrival, they begin attacking communist countries, revealing that they have been in a centuries-long war of extinction with an interstellar communist workers of the universe Soviet, and Earth is now a third world in their conflict, and they need to eliminate the Reds before they can be resupplied. Would you side with the aliens who think like you or with the human commies? God, that's a great question. What would your response change if they attacked Muslim countries instead? Are you depressed a bit that you had to wonder if Obama's America counts as a commie country now? We'll take the last question first. Yes. Who would I side with? That's Chris. Chris. Excellent question. Jay Ferguson answered on the Facebook page what I was thinking as I was reading the question before I read his answer. I would side, I think, with the aliens, so long as they weren't talking about exterminating these people. I'm talking about military defeat of their warrior class, and I would side with freedom. For the reasons that Jay Ferguson said, and the reasons that came to me pretty clearly reading the question. I think America is an idea. I think America is an idea, and I think that we look at people as individuals. And so I would treat those aliens as other freedom-loving individuals. And if they're fighting tyranny, then I'm with them. A couple of episodes ago, or maybe 2 episodes ago, or maybe it was even last episode, I don't even remember. But I said, my theory of people and my theory of philosophy is that I am sympathetic, not just sympathetic, I hold these ideas of liberty and freedom and responsibility and all these other things in religious awe. And I would rather be the only white person in an America of 320 million black people if they all felt the same way about liberty that I do. I'd much prefer that America than being surrounded by nothing but white liberals or communists or socialists or so on. Much prefer it. I don't see people as black people or white people or gay people. I look at them as individuals. What do you mean as an individual? How are you a good person, bad person? What do you believe? I look at people individually. So I would have to take that attitude here as well, I think. I would side with the people that are freedom because it's a value system. And my value system is coherent and it's thought out. Would I change my response if they attacked Muslim countries instead? Look, I don't want them. I don't want to see any kind of extermination of any kind of people on this country for whatever on this planet rather, for any kind of belief at all. I don't want to see. If somebody said to me, "You had the power to, these people are going to come in, they're just going to destroy communism in the world," I'd say, well, as long as we're talking about destroying the idea of communism, I'm 100% behind it. But if they're talking about putting people up against a wall and shooting them, then no, and then I would resist them. It's a fundamental, pardon the expression, humanity. We talked about this in the CSR episode that I was watching last night. One of the questions in the CSR episode was, you're a resistance movement. What do you do with prisoners? Hadn't given that any thought at all. But since we're a resistance movement in the common sense resistance of the future, 25, 30 years from now, we don't have prisons. We can't take them with us. We have a choice. We can either kill them or let them go. Those are the two choices. If we let them go, after they've been captured as prisoners, they not only experience, but they know who we are. They know where we are. They've made some of us in terms of IDs. They know where they found us. They've got all of this intelligence. So the strong case to be made from a common sense point of view would be to kill them, but I don't want to be part of an organization that kills prisoners, so we let them go. Right? It's the fundamental humanity of it. You cannot, I will not ever find myself on the side of a team that is executing people for their political beliefs, even if their political beliefs are that they will execute me for my political beliefs. That's how you fight monsters without becoming a monster. You have to stand for life. I mean, you have to be decent. You have to be decent. You have to be worth fighting for. You have to have an idea that's worth fighting for and dying for. And there's no possible world that I can see where the survival of my belief system and political and military victory means the extermination of unarmed people. Taking out their warriors in a firefight is a whole different animal. I'm 100% behind that. But just murdering people because they're communists or jihadists or whatever? No. So that's how I would answer your question, Chris. If aliens come to Earth and they're fighting intergalactic communism, I'm on their side, and I'll go with them in their spaceship and fight intergalactic communists on battlefields all across this fine galaxy of ours, as long as we're fighting warriors in a stand-up, honorable war. But I'm not gonna be any party to execution of people who disagree with me politically. And if they were coming to exterminate people, even if they were the enemies of freedom, then I'd resist them. It seems to be coherent to me. It makes sense to me morally, and it feels right to me. And that's the difference between us and them. It's not lost on me that it's the socialists who are the ones who line up people and shoot them in the back of the head. National Socialists in Germany killed 20 million people. The communists in Russia starved 30 million to death, executed at least millions more. The Great Leap Forward and all of this other stuff, all these communists, they murder people. That's what they do. They murder people. The state is all powerful. The individual doesn't matter. Yeah, those people can go to hell. But I'm not gonna do to them what they want to do to me. And that makes this fight a lot harder, by the way. I'll fight their warriors, and if their warriors fight honorably, then we'll accept an honorable terms of warfare, as was the case, generally speaking, between the Americans and the Germans in the European theater. Not the case with SS regiments. The SS regiments gunned down American prisoners and therefore were treated differently than general run-of-the-mill Wehrmacht units. But many Japanese units were not fighting with the same rules that we understand in the West, considered the idea of surrender to be subhuman, tortured their prisoners and executed their prisoners, and so the Marines said, that's how you want to fight it, then that's how we'll fight it. I have no problem with that either. But anyway, yeah, it's a great question. Great question. Moving down the list.